So the other day, I was in this group chat. I'm a part of a support group for Isaac's syndrome, and there's only 100 to 200 known and confirmed cases of neuromyotonia in the world ever. And there's not too much information available because of the fact there's so few of us that it's difficult to justify putting that same amount of effort and energy into finding a cure as they do for some of the other autoimmune diseases that are more prevalent in our society. But I've heard a rumor that vlogging is where it's at, because then you kind of get to meet me face to face, and I'm not sure where to go with this, except that I want everyone to know that even in the worst of times, even in the worst circumstance, God is still there. He doesn't cause these things to happen. What He's given us is a free will to choose how we're going to react to it. And not every day is a good day for me. It's sometimes tough to stay positive in such a tormenting world. But the Bible tells us it's just light and momentary troubles. And 80 years in comparison to eternity is not that long. Not at all. And Paul says it best when he says, to live is Christ, but to die, oh, that would be gain. Because there's no more pain and no more suffering. So if a loved one has gone before you, you can be assured that there's no more pain and no more suffering if they knew the hand of Christ in their life. For people struggling with chronic pain or chronic illness, it's tough for the church to sometimes navigate our faith versus our reality. You know, faith is confidence that the promises we don't see are assured. They are certain that we believe God is making a way when there seems to be no way. And He will continue to do so. But it's actually not entirely based on my faith. You see, I have faith to believe that the miracle is going to come. That either a cure will be found or a treatment, or maybe like other diseases I've had to walk through, it would just go away one morning under the power of Christ. For whatever reason, He has not yet chosen to heal this affliction. But I trust Him. And when He tells us in Jeremiah that we can trust the plans He has for us to bring us prosperity and not pain, then I know that the plan He has for me is for my good and His glory. So I do have joy in this suffering. Pure joy, because I get to see the love of Christ in a way that I've never seen, and His grace to be so sufficient for what we have to deal with in this life. None of us are immune. None of us are completely vaccinated from the suffering in this lifetime. But if we can just remember the good things of God, if we could just remember that He suffered alongside us when He chose to die on the cross. He did not have to choose to follow the will of His Father. He did not have to be here in the flesh. He could have just not even come. But He saw that we are not necessarily a people capable of complete righteousness. So He dies on the cross, and then our faith is counted to us as righteousness. When we believe that Jesus is who He says He is, when we believe that He is God, He is the incarnate God here on earth, that there is nothing that can come against God. And if God is for us, who could be against us? My God is able to do exceedingly more than I could ever ask or imagine. And as hard as life has been in certain times and seasons in my life, I have seen His glorious hand follow right behind the suffering. And He allows the enemy to sometimes use us as punching bags, because He knows that when He comes in and He kicks the enemy's butt, that He is setting him up. The enemy thinks he can take one step forward to try to lunge a nice one across the chin, and as he goes to lunge, God gives you the strength to uppercut him. Just knock him right in the chin and on his back. Because the enemy has no real authority over your spirit. He has some authority here on earth because the Lord cast him down here. And so we know that there is an accuser in the ear of God. But we also know that our advocate, our lawyer, Jesus, is right there. One time I got a ticket. I came to an 8-way stop, and there was zero traffic. But there was a police officer who had pulled somebody over across the street. So I was pretty sure he was running a sting, because there's no other cars. There's no reason. And so I stopped as firmly as possible, and then after my 3 seconds, I took the turn. My car squealed because it would squeal at 3 miles per hour. Sure enough, the cop pulled us over, said we ran a stop sign. We went to court to fight it, and in front of me was all these different people who had done some violation of some sort, showed up to court. And fines, up to $3,000 fines. The lowest I heard was like $1,200. Every single one, the police officer would come up. Every single one the police officer was not available for, and the judge looked at them and said, "Your case is dismissed. Your accuser is not here." So then came my case, my piddly couple $100, and I'm gonna fight this thing. And guess who showed up but the cop who ran the sting? And before I had a chance to get to the front, the cop and the judge were joking around. I knew at that point I was getting a ticket. But it didn't matter. I stood up there and argued my case. And then the judge, of course, sided with his cop friend. And I understood that because they have relationship, right? The cop is known and sworn to never lie, cheat, or steal, and the judge was well acquainted with him and knew that he was likely of mostly good character. But that day he had a quota to meet. But can you imagine? This is just an acquaintance friend of the judge at work in business. And the judge's heart was easy to be swayed to the other side. And when I think about Jesus up there in heaven advocating on our behalf, God just looks over there and is like, my son says she's innocent. Who's he gonna believe? The enemy he cast out of heaven, or his own son who died on the cross and rose again 3 days later? He's gonna believe the one that sacrificed everything for my life. And not just my life here on earth. That's just fleeting. A blink and it's gone. I blinked and 40 years went by. 40 amazing years full of the abundance of Christ. And I've seen so many cool things that the Lord has done that have been supernatural, miraculous. Nothing that we could have done to create the miraculous gifts. Nothing we could have done. The only thing my faith had to do was understand the power of God, the authority that the Lord God has, and his ability to change my circumstance at any given moment. I trust God because God died for me. It is too much to ask that I would suffer for just a little while. Just a little while. No, I count it pure joy that I get to suffer much like my Jesus suffered. And I get to have the opportunity to see his love in a more tangible way than I've ever seen before. When I'm stuck in my cave or stuck in this chair, I can be grateful to God for another breath and another day. I can be grateful for my son and the fact that I get to see him grow up to be a man. Even with all the things the world can throw at us, there's still good out there. There's still a place for us. A place for us to see God move his miraculous hands. It takes more faith to walk through the desert, knowing the promised land is in front of you, but seeing nothing but dry ground between you and the promised land. But do not grow weary in doing good, for you will see the harvest. You will reap the harvest if you just do not give up. Hold on to your faith, even if it's just a thread. Hang on tight, because your faith does not have to move the mountain. God does that. Your faith does not have to get rid of a disease. God does that. Your faith does not have to change your circumstance. God does that. Your faith is not that you would move mountains and get miracles and supernaturally dust the junk off of somebody's life. That is not your job. Your job is to believe in the one who can. Do not be afraid of the one who could take your soul, your life. Do not be afraid of the one who can take your life. Be afraid of the one who could take your soul. Is that how it goes? It's in my heart. I'm not afraid of the darkness. I'm not afraid of the king of principality, negative principality. I have a respect and reverent fear of God the Almighty, who pulled out of nothing, ex nihilo, and created all that there is. My faith is not in my ability to overcome this thing. My faith is in His faithfulness. God's faithfulness to fulfill the promises He's laid on my life, in my spirit. The promises He's laid in the lives of everyone else. He's weaving them together. He's weaving them together into one of the most masterpiece things you've ever seen. Beginning at the time of Abraham, he began to collect all the pieces together to make his masterpiece. Individuals in unity, pulled together by the arms of Christ. Family, Jews and Gentiles, who come together under faith in the one true God. Hang on. Do not give up. He ain't done yet. Hashtag I hate Isaacs. I hate cancers. I hate diseases. The woman will always have a disdain for evil. The woman, God is so good. God is so good. This woman hates diseases. I hate darkness. I may be a little salty. Salted with Christ. But I won't give up. This journey has only begun. If you listen till now, I love you. I care about you. And I can't wait to see the miracles God continues to do in all of our lives. I cannot wait. It'll be exciting on that great day, and the world's gonna know about it. Share your story, share your testimonies, share what God is doing in your life, share the blessings. Try not to see the curses. I know they're sometimes really loud. The pain can be so loud sometimes. But God is bigger than the pain. And when we are feeling like that, we can just rest in Him and know He's up to something and it's my turn to rest. And then, watchmen, get back on that wall and continue to do your job. To watch for good and evil, to call in the soldiers when it's necessary. I pray that the angels would just surround us all. As times continue to change, they're not doing anything that the prophecies have not already foretold. They are going along with the plan of God. And this plan of God is good. His plans for you are to prosper. My God is able to do exceedingly more than I can ever ask or imagine. He already has. But I know He ain't done yet. God bless you.